They're the people we hope never to need, but when an emergency occurs, they're all we depend on.
Ambulance emergency.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
Don't do anything for the meantime and put the knife away.
Filming with 999 call takers, emergency paramedics and their patients. This is the story of the men and women of the HSE National Ambulance Service.
I don't know everyone in Wicklow just because I live in Wicklow.
You feel a bit dizzy. Sit down there before you fall down because I won't be able to catch you.
This time, from fender benders to fatal car crashes, the daunting scenes paramedics are faced with on our nation's roads.
From my first instinct arriving, I thought there would have been fatalities.
And who is left to pick up the pieces of our most vulnerable road users?
As soon as I hit the ground, I could hear somebody's voice saying, "Call an ambulance."
The cyclist doesn't have a chance when something comes thundering alongside them.
We were one of the first emergency services there, and it was definitely quite a chaotic scene.
A person versus a car, person always loses.
I need everything to settle down here.
Road traffic accidents is a proportion of some of the work we do, and what I've noticed in my career in the ambulance services, which is 14 years, is that the road accidents have decreased, thankfully, and the serious and fatal road accidents have decreased. But that's not to say that we don't still come across them.
The RTA is one of the calls that can have so many different variables to it.
It's one of these things that can be, as you say, a simple fender bender that blocks up the entire progress of the M50 to something that could potentially be life-threatening to patients that are involved in them, you know.
And then we also attend to more serious road accidents on our country roads, which leaves little room for error, which can involve very serious injuries.
It can really encompass a range of extremities to which the call can fall within.
So our main focus is to find out how many people are actually involved, because there's nothing worse than us sending one ambulance and it turns out there could be 3, 4, 5 patients.
The guards are notified, the fire service is notified because there may be hazards involved there, burst petrol tank, battery acid, all that kind of stuff.
You really don't know until we're there on scene what we're going to have to deal with and how many resources we're going to need to back us up.
We do build up a working relationship with the other services going to accidents and that, with the guards and the fire brigade.
We all work off the same hymn sheet and we all know each other's procedures. So we gel quite well when it comes to RTCs, and we all have to work together.
Road traffic collisions can be traumatic and they can be chaotic. You know, they can be chaotic, so it's up to you within the service, and certainly from my perspective on the bike, it's up to you to try and sort of calm that situation and bring some sort of order to it, you might say.
The motorbike unit has been around since 2000.
It was started as a pilot scheme initially, as a rapid response vehicle. Ambulances can take a good while to get through traffic, even cars, so they decided to go down the route of the motorcycle.
So the bikes basically made a huge difference when they were set up originally, operating in the South County area.
And after the pilot scheme, I think it ran for 12 months, they kept the unit on, and the unit since has been very successful. The staff on it is 3, and it has been 3 since 2000. We have over 250 pieces of equipment on the motorcycle, from maternity kit, defibrillator, burns kit, first aid kit, intubation, all resuscitation equipment.
It's all about patient care. The bikes are a tool for us to get there and carry our equipment and deal with a patient when we get there.
The transporting of the patient is obviously the ambulance end of things. But I mean, if we can stabilise the patient before the ambulance arrives. Makes the transport an awful lot easier.
When we start our shift, as I said, you know, we don't know what car we're going to, but we don't know where we're going to neither. And sometimes we could be sent further afield.
Control of 5 Tango 02. JJ to car RTA. One patient complained of back and neck pain as per caller. Unknown situation on all other patients.
There was a bad road traffic collision in Wicklow.
So we have unconfirmed reports if there is someone still in the car, but we'll take it as a possibility over.
So the control asked us to respond that they'd one vehicle, but there was a few people injured in it. Because of the distance, naturally it's going to take us a good bit longer to get down.
You get this call, you have to get out there. Conditions were reasonably good.
So we got down there, and on arrival there was one ambulance on scene.
Again, when you arrive at road traffic accident, you have to be very careful where you park.
The first thing I noticed was oil. And believe it or not, you can actually smell it as well. So we're using all our senses as we're pulling up. Your eyes, your ears, your nose. So straight away, before we even get off the bike, we're looking for hazards.
And when we got there was a very bad bend, and there was 2 cars after colliding with each other head on.
How you doing? What do you need?
So we've 3 ambulances required.
Yeah, there's one other one coming. There was 2 and one other one's coming.
Right, I've requested a 3rd ambulance.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're going to put colour all
Yeah, okay, great stuff, great.
We immediately found out what the conditions of the patient were.
There was one woman still in the car, and the gentleman was out, and there was another chap out of his car. So when I seen the lady sitting in the car, and I knew she was conscious. It's a plus, straight away it's a plus. I seen the gentleman lying on the road. It's a plus because I seen he was alive. Because from my first instinct arriving, I thought there would have been fatalities. You could see the impact, you could see the damage done to both engines of the car. The engines were pushed back into the driver's seat. The cars were destroyed, and the people in those vehicles were actually lucky that they were talking to us when we arrived.
We got into our protocol of managing patients and prioritising patients and treating them.
I dealt with the lady who was in a lot of pain. She was complaining of back pain and going up into her neck. She was also complaining of chest pain, and it was more obvious that the seatbelt was after protecting her, but it might have done damage to her sternum or her ribs.
Okay, how does that feel too tight on you, is it? No, you sure?
We had to get a collar and treat this lady as a spinal injury.
What relation is the man that was in the car?
My dad.
Your dad, okay. The lads are looking after him there, okay?
Hold on, all right. Prepare to slide and slide. Stop. Now, and prepare to slide and slide. Sus.
For anybody at any age to have impact like that doesn't do you any good. But for the gentleman, for his age, with some of his medical history, because we're such a distance away from the hospital, can go flat on us very quickly. So our aim there was to get the gentleman, treat him, spinal injury, into the ambulance, and get him into the hospital because of the distance. Even in a low impact, you could have somebody that has done damage internally that maybe is not shown.
What way do you want to do it?
We board just slightly underneath and then we'll swing her and put her
Right.
We had to be very careful moving her. One, because of the impact, spinal injury. Two, we didn't want to do any more damage into her chest area if she had a rib broke or her sternum.
Prepare to slide and slide. Stop. Oh.
The lady was conscious, so we weren't in a hurry just to get her out as quickly as possible. We took our time getting her out and made sure she was stable.
We ready to move, yeah? They've actually left for the hospital, but you're going to the same hospital, so you'll be able to see him in there.
Sometimes if you have 5 or 6 patients in a number of cars, you're not going to send them all to the one hospital. You will certainly try and send all the one family to the one hospital, but you're certainly not going to send all the patients to the one hospital.
After treating that lady then, I dealt with the driver of the other car who had walked out of the car, and the only thing he was complaining of was a wrist injury.
I'm honestly fine, I promise you.
You sure?
It's just my wrist.
I know his wrist. Okay, well, I'll come back over and I'll sort out your wrist. But you need to go to the hospital as well, so with the wrist, okay?
He didn't even want to go to hospital, and I don't know, I think there were relatives with him, and they said, listen, we'll take him up, we'll convince him to go. When you actually stand back and look at the damage that was done, you sort of scratch your head and say, like, how did he get out of that with just a wrist injury? Lucky man, I have to say he was a lucky man. The cars have come on over the years, they're better able to take the impact, but they're also able to go faster. To look at the impact on that car, how those people got out alive, I don't know. We had plenty of resources, but because where the collision happened, as you say, you can't put an ambulance in every town, and nobody knows where these collisions are going to happen. So yes, sometimes it can take a little bit to get the resources to the scene. You have the same in the west of Ireland, you'd have the same in Cork. And sometimes these collisions happen at the furthest point away from where the ambulance is. But that's life.
Accidents on public roads come in many variations. Today, cyclists are among some of the most vulnerable road users, with a 59% increase in bicycle-related emergencies.
Cyclists versus cars, pedestrians versus cars. It's a scary call from our side of thing, and it's almost always going to be a delta call, which is once that person's breathing, it's a top priority call. You know, it's one step down from a cardiac arrest.
Majority of our calls are small little fender benders, neck pain, bring them up, you could just get assessed into St. Vincent's Hospital. Or we'd have the cyclists that are generally, there is a lot of cyclists getting knocked down.
The mechanism of injury and the lack of protection that a cyclist or a pedestrian has in comparison to a car, it's miles apart.
Trucks just seem to be getting bigger. Cars are getting bigger, flashier, faster. So, I mean, the cyclist doesn't have a chance when something comes thundering alongside them.
It's something that has a lot of capabilities for injury and serious injury. And it's something that you never like to get on the end of the phone.
I'm a teacher, primary teacher. I teach in Holly Park Girls' School. I used to drive, but I got a bike last Easter, so I decided I would cycle. So I've been cycling from Brewery Road down across the dual carriageway and down through a little laneway onto Knoxhinna and in another little laneway into school. It's about 10 to 15 minute journey. So it was great. I had intended stopping at Halloween because of the cold weather, but then it was nice, the weather was still nice, so I decided I'd keep going while it was still nice and bright. But that was probably not a great idea in hindsight.
We were dispatched to a call in Foxrock.
Newtown Park Avenue, Crampton Road Junction, for Clifton Gardaí there as a cyclist got to be knocked off his bike by a car, conscious and breathing. Other than that, no other details known at this moment.
Roger that, I'll receive things. Well, we received a call that morning for a cyclist that was hit by a car in a housing estate. So to us, you just considered that maybe the speed wouldn't have been as fast as if it was on a major road. However, you just have to approach the scene as you would normally.
As soon as I hit the ground, I could hear somebody's voice saying, "Call an ambulance." So that
it was great because I knew that I was going to be looked after at all, but also I realised it was serious enough.
Okay, we have
facial injuries.
So on arrival, myself and Claire go to the ambulance and we approached the lady who was very upset. She was a lot of pain.
Apart from your face, anywhere else sore?
Not really.
Not really. Can I get full spinal, please? She had an obvious head injury, but she was alert and she was able to tell us her name, what happened. So what we're going to do is we're going to get my colleagues to help here, and we're going to take your helmet off, put a collar on and get you onto a spinal board, get you into the ambulance, get you nice and warm.
I was, as usual, on my way to school, cycling down, and came down through the little laneway into Knoxina, and there was a collision with a car came out of a side road, and I just went flying, and my face hit the road.
As you work as a team, you get to know like what the other person needs without them even asking for it. You know, like Claire says in the patient, she's looking at the scene, I'm looking at the scene, we're both thinking spinal immobilisation.
You don't think there's an injury, do you?
It's all precaution.
Okay.
This is all precaution.
Okay, fine, grand.
I was kind of feeling relieved, and very relieved when they actually did arrive and hopped out, and they just inspired confidence immediately.
Hey Dan, just go take a helmet off, Kev. All right.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
One of the big things we try and do is calm the patient down on scene, like try and stop her crying so she can tell us where she's pain.
Now we need to put a collar on. Have you ever had a collar on?
No.
It's quite uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's just to keep everything straight. She'd no other apparent injuries other than the head one would be our main concern for her. So a significant trauma to her. You know what day it is, do you? Wednesday.
I couldn't stop myself from shivering, and I had one eye, just the left eye was looking around, flying around at all these people looking down, really kind faces, but kind of panic-stricken as well, a little bit, telling me everything was going to be fine and really reassuring me, but I was still a bit panicky.
Don't mind this is only precautionary, okay? So don't worry.
Yeah, okay.
It's designed to be uncomfortable, I apologise.
Okay, no problem.
Can I just get the dressing in there? Just the collar will hold it in situ as well.
Okay.
In the ambulance service, when you during our training and when you're trying to do something to a patient where it's traumatic and you want to put a device on them, like a CAD or like the board that we use for spinal immobilisation, it's a very frightening thing to put someone in because you're strapping them down. They've no control over where they can go or what they can do, and it's very frightening for them. So in our training, they tell the patient exactly what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, you know, and still reassuring them.
I just felt they were completely competent, that they knew exactly what they were doing and that they were going to do it properly and calmly, and that I was in good hands. So I just put my complete trust in them.
So we're going to roll you over onto your left-hand side. We're going to get the jacket arm off.
Just relax.
When we roll over.
Once you get them calming down, you get their heart rate down, you get their blood pressure down, you get their reps down, and once they're in that calm state, they're easy to talk to.
We're going to roll you back, and it's going to be a spinal board underneath.
That's perfect, honey.
Okay.
She's more concerned about her bike. As in they gone, your bike's fine. There's a lady here, your friend's here, she'll take your bike. Don't worry about your bike. We're more concerned about you.
Yeah, her to slide and slide. There, perfect.
The accident was a shock to the system. 1 minute you're cycling along happily on your way to work, and the next instant you're hitting the ground thinking that you're going to be disfigured for life. And you think of everything. You think of your husband and your children. That's the first thing that comes into your head.
I remember her husband was at scene, and he was worried, you know, this is his life partner on the ground, and she's in pain and she's in crying and all that, and I think he felt more like a spare wheel because he didn't know what to do.
She asked him to ring me, and you know, it took 10-15 minutes for me to get there in the traffic, and she said she was quite relieved and reassured to see me.
I'm going to follow you into the hospital, okay? I won't be in the ambulance, I'll take the car and, okay, and I'll see you in there.
He told me afterwards that he got an awful fright when he saw the flashing lights when he just came around the corner, I think he really got a bit panicky at that stage, and he didn't know how bad things were at that stage, so he was really worried, yeah.
She did say to me that she came down on her head, and I could see from the cuts on her face that, you know, she had obviously taken a hit around the right-hand side of her face.
And at that stage, I just thought my face was going to be disfigured forever more.
Try to lift and lift. Okay.
I could see them working very carefully, and they checked her out for any serious injuries. And in a very short time, they had placed her on the spinal board and then put her on the stretcher and put her in the ambulance. So I was standing there watching it, and I had a very good feeling that she was in good hands.
Sorry.
Okay.
Now another one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, just going to do a few checks, okay? Your blood pressure?
Okay.
Any medical problems?
Brought her into the back of the ambulance, done a second assessment, make sure there's no any bleeding externally anywhere, because she did have a couple of facial cuts and a head cut. So we treated them as well, and Claire done her vital signs on the patient, running an ECG and taking blood pressures and standard stuff that we do with every patient. Once we were happy enough that there was no life-threatening injuries there, we decided we were going to proceed to the hospital.
Claire started asking me lots of questions, loads of sort of medical questions. Whether it was to pass the time or not, I don't know, but the time seemed to go very quickly. She said, we're passing UCD now, and I couldn't believe it, that we were already at UCD. And then very quickly again, she said, now we're turning down Nutley Lane. Again, I couldn't believe that, so we were almost there. Then she told me about the procedure when we'd get there, that I'd be put onto a trolley, and that the trolley would go straight into the assessment centre or the emergency room in the hospital. So that was exactly what happened. And at that stage we parted company, and I went into a doctor who was just immediately did a brain check and a spinal check.
I have to say, looking back at it, that the level of the professionalism from both the Gardaí and the paramedics, and again from the medical staff in A&E and St Vincent's Hospital, was superb. Couldn't speak highly enough for all of them.
The helmet saved me. They told me that in the hospital as well. The doctor said that the helmet was vital. If I hadn't had the helmet, I would certainly have been brain damaged, if not killed. And when I looked at the helmet myself afterwards, you could see that. I could see the helmet was damaged and there was blood on it. And so it would have been my head instead of the helmet that took the brunt. So please wear helmets, anybody who's listening to this programme.
Since the accident, she hasn't been back on the bike, but hopefully that'll change. I think she will get around to it again in time.
Her outcome was good, I heard when we were chatting, but haven't seen her since.
They were super. So thank you, Scotty and Claire.
Traditionally, the ambulance service has been responsible for providing both emergency and patient transfer service. Recently introduced, the Intermediate Care Service provides transport for patients between hospitals and medical facilities to reduce the reliance on frontline emergency paramedics.
The ICV was started about 3 years ago, I'd say, just roughly. It was brought in because of the emergency services were being made to do all the transfers as well, which is tying up so many ambulances. It got very, very difficult for them.
What the ICV does is we do routine transfers, we do doctor's calls, and we back up the frontline emergency services when they need us. For example, in a major emergency, at an RTC, road traffic collision, or at cardiac arrest.
But our main role is to do these transfers from in and out of hospitals, appointments, bring people home, and just less emergency calls like that, as I say, the doctor calls, the ones that would be used, that people aren't severely sick but they do need to come into hospital within the next hour or so.
Cork isn't the only place that have intermediate care vehicles. They have them all over the country. So they also do exactly the same work as we do down here because it is a national service.
Get a bit of fresh air at least.
No. The call we did that day was to collect a lady from CUH and to bring her back to her care facility, which is kind of nursing home.
No, just a couple of bumps here now when you're coming into the ambulance, alright?
What we do is we go in, we load up the patient onto the stretcher, get our paperwork and everything sorted as well, and just transfer them down to the ambulance and we take them over to the care facility.
Yeah.
Oh, just a click and a bump now, okay? No, job done. Okay, now Mary, just going to do a couple of checks, alright?
The main thing is when you have these patients in this situation, just try and get them comfortable, make them feel at ease. And it makes a big difference to the patient when they know they're at ease.
No, I'm just going to pull up your sleeve here, okay? Put it up as high as it'll go. So I want to take your blood pressure, alright? No.
It goes up and down.
It goes up and down?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
With your patient transfer service, you're there with the patient for possibly over an hour. So you get a very detailed account of their past medical history, the medication that they're on.
Happy? Yeah. Happy to go.
Lovely.
Whenever you're ready. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Loads. Okay.
En route then we just have to try and make the patient as comfortable as we can for the circumstances and the road conditions.
This is our bread and butter. It's basically just collect someone from the hospital and bring them out to further care, just to free up more hospital beds. It's part of our job really. It's very rare we kind of stay local, you know. We do get local calls, but we're kind of pushed out to more the county direction. Like it's usually about half an hour, 40 minutes, you know, to where we're going.
The distance that we travel in the intermediate care ambulance could be absolutely anywhere in the country.
Anywhere in Ireland you will find an ICV probably at some stage.
We could travel up and down to Dublin 3 or 4 times a week. You could go to Wexford, you could go to Galway, you could go to Mallow.
The lads have gone up the north on a couple of calls. We very often go to Dublin, we go to Limerick.
You could go absolutely anywhere, from 5 minutes down the road to 2.5 hours up the road.
No 2 days are the same, or ever the same. When you come in the morning, you just don't know what you're going to. You don't know what you're going to get. It's just basically a lucky dip. You can get absolutely anything. You could start off with a transfer. You could be doing transfers all day, or you could end up doing emergency work all day. It all depends on how busy the control room is.
We could get a call to back up an ambulance crew at a road traffic accident, at a cardiac arrest, at a respiratory arrest.
With 2 stretchers in the ICV instead of the normal emergency services, which just have 1. It's great to have a vehicle that is just a bigger diversity for items like that.
We're here.
Yeah.
We'll get you inside now into a comfortable bed.
That trip then down to kind of nursing homes, quick spin, half an hour down the road. You know, a nice small, lovely lady.
We'll just bring you down on the lift, okay?
That's just a prime example call of what we do on a day-to-day basis. That's our primary role.
No.
Most days you can go home. It may be a small thing like just transfer someone back to a nursing home or bringing someone home to bringing someone into a hospital with a cardiac arrest. You know you've made a little bit of a difference to someone's life, and it's a great thing to have.
4 Victor 02, go ahead with your message, over.
4 Victor 02 to control. Just to inform you there that we're clear and available here at Brookfield Nursing Home. What's our next job or protocol, over? I like the job. I love the job. I wouldn't change what I have. Like, there is a lot of progression in the job. You can go into paramedic level, advanced paramedic level, team leaders, lead the ambulance personnel up top first level. I actually love my job, in fairness. 4 Victor 02 to control. All received. 4 Victor 02 out.
You have to build a rapport with your partner or partners because you are with them so much.
The relationship you have with your partner is, I would say, it's a lot harder than what you'd have at home. because unfortunately you're stuck in the front cab of an ambulance for over 12 hours with them. So you have to get along.
The one thing about me and Dave is we'll yell the head off each other, but then 2 seconds later it's back to normal. There's nothing kept, there's nothing. We get our point across and we're back to normal.
Hi, Mom.
Most people in the ambulance service, there's a bit of insanity in everyone. And if you didn't have it, you wouldn't be suited. But definitely my partner. I won't give David any credit. He can be quite insane at times.
We'd have the crack and all that, like, you know. But he looks out for me and I look out for him, like, you know. So that's what it is. You have to look out for your partner, like.
Have you got that bit of tissue there?
Trevor was over in Spain, I think, and he bought a pair of sunglasses. He actually bought 2 pairs of sunglasses. One set were Ray-Bans and one set were Vans. Very top brand names now for this type of gentleman.
If there's a scratch in those Ray-Bans, like 250 quid you'll be paying me.
You actually paid 250 quid for them?
What's happening there?
Dave liked him. Dave really liked him, I'll give him that. And David was not too pleased how much I spent on a pair of sunglasses.
That is a ridiculous price to pay for a pair of sunglasses. What's you pay for the Vans?
They're a little less.
What, 225?
We turned off, so I got for 250 like.
Oh my God almighty. Are you actually serious? Lads, that is a ridiculous price for a pair of sunglasses.
I think it's because he thought they were so expensive that he had to be seen wearing the expensive lenses during a shift.
Come here, boy.
Shut up, put them up. Shut up.
I think I had him for a good half an hour believing it, and he was quite adamant and not too happy about it, until I remember standing outside the ambulance as far as I could go to try and stay away from the camera lens, and mentioning that I paid €5 for the lenses.
Fiend! Oh. You're a fiend! You're such a fiend! Yeah, they were just imitation sunglasses, but for what harm? They still did the job anyway.
If you can wind someone up during your day, it always makes it a little bit better.
What a fiend! God.
Whether it's crossing a road to catch a bus or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time, pedestrians make up an increasing majority of road traffic calls.
Pedestrians are another vulnerable people, and actually kids and teenagers tend to be, or the elderly is another group. We get a lot of pedestrian road traffic accidents too.
What we're beginning to see now is more cyclists versus car accidents and collisions, and pedestrians crossing the road.
When it comes to you and me walking out on the road, the only protection we have is our skin and flesh.
A person versus a car, person always loses.
You get some bleach in it? Yeah. So we were on our way to another call, and we were stood down by control and informed that relatively nearby, a couple of kilometres nearby, an 18-month-old child had been hit by a car and was still lying in the road. So obviously that's a very serious call. It certainly focused our attention straight away. We started to head in that direction. We were given quite an accurate location, so we were able to plot our route quite well. And then maybe halfway through the journey we received further information, which is normal, and the scene had evolved and changed, and it then became a teenager that we were going to.
Right, now I'm just going to get the board on the whole. Just relax for me, Pat, you're going to be all right. Will you relax your arms for me?
We were confronted with a female patient lying on the ground, very vocal, very distraught.
Listen to me, you're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. You're going to be just fine.
It was a relief that it wasn't a young child, but, you know, we still had to focus on our patient. Road traffic collisions are, by nature, a very dynamic scene. You are on a live road. It can be quite an unsafe scene because traffic will drive around you when you arrive initially before proper fend-off has been set up. We were one of the first emergency services there, and it was definitely quite a chaotic scene. Then other agencies arrived, the Gardaí arrived, and they assisted with fend-off and scene safety. And then Dublin Fire Brigade arrived, and it was very convenient to have the extra manpower there, so I used it. The car was stopped in the middle of the road. There was somebody lying on the road, and they were surrounded by people. There was a lot of shouting. So, you know, I was faced with the decision of needing to control the scene, and sometimes you just need to speak up and control the scene, so that's what I did.
I need everything to settle down here. I need everything to settle down. She's combative and she had a seizure after getting hit, so I need her to just relax.
She was very combative from the start, very vocal, a lot of movement of her arms and legs. She really wouldn't lie still. You know, I was aware that it was a teenage girl. She was Spanish. English was not her first language, so I was using the tone of my voice to calm her.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Just try and relax. You're going to be okay. Just relax. Yeah, I know, Bess, I know.
It's not always about the words that you use, but how you speak to them. Again, it was made more difficult by the fact that I was physically holding her head and not allowing her to move. So it's difficult to be both calming and restraining at the same time. As the scene evolved and the longer we spent on scene, she didn't calm down. She still remained very upset and very combative. Moved quite a lot, which obviously we don't want for someone who possibly has a spinal injury or another form of bony injury. And as she continued to move around, I began to, you know, become concerned about perhaps a closed head injury.
Okay, so we're going to need, we're going to roll her over to you. And when we roll her, we're just going to pause for a minute and have a look. All right?
Obviously, because she was moving, it would be fair to say that her arms and legs had not been injured. But again, given her level of confusion and her level of upset, perhaps she wasn't aware of an injury that perhaps another patient would have been more aware of and would have guarded.
Ready to move and move. Stop. Now we're in the middle, so it's just straight back up. Ready to move and move. Stop. Right, brilliant. Lovely. Okay.
It's important to immobilise patients like that for their own safety so that they don't add to their injuries.
Ready to lift and lift. Great stuff. You all right? Okay, listen to me, Julia, you're going to be all right.
And I mobilised the patient and moved her into the ambulance.
It's okay, Julia, it's okay, it's all right. Now, we're in the ambulance, Julia. Listen to me. Listen, can you understand me? Yeah. Okay, you're in an ambulance. You got hit by a car. Yeah.
One of the symptoms of a closed brain injury is confusion and aggression and agitation.
What's wrong? Where are you sore? Are your legs sore? Okay, your legs are sore. Now, Niall is just going to have a look at your legs, okay? Okay, but you have to stay still. Is that okay? You need to go to hospital, sweetheart. Is that okay? All right. Okay. Okay.
On the day, quite randomly, one of the members of public that was there turned out to be a Spanish woman, a fluent Spanish speaker.
Do you want to sit up here? No, my dear. Excuse me. That's okay. Your friend? You're doing really well. Sit up there.
I don't know, but
You can talk to her. No, there's your friend. Okay.
I kind of used that opportunity to have an interpreter.
Can you just ask her, has she got pain anywhere? Is she sore anywhere? Does she have sore legs? No. Can you lift up your arms for me?
The head, she has
pain in her head. Okay. Can she see me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you pain anywhere else?
No.
Okay. Can you move your toes for me? Wiggle your toes. Thank you. Really good. Any pain here?
No.
You're doing really well, my dear.
I was just trying to get a marker on her level of confusion. So while she had calmed down, which was a positive sign, I wanted to just see how alert she was and see how her natural dialogue was. Was she able to answer simple questions leading to more difficult questions. So I started off with the simple questions.
Can you tell me what day is it today? You're cheating. What month is it? What month is it today? And I'm going to cover up your watch. Well done. Sure, of course it will be if it's Halloween. Yeah.
It was a positive thing that she looked at her watch. It showed that she was alert, that she knew how to move her arm, that she knew she had a watch on her wrist and that the watch gave the date.
You're doing really well. Yeah, you are. Good. We don't want to frighten you. You should come back to Ireland when this is all done. You can go back to Spain now this week and tell your whole family about it.
And then when she calmed down, I was able to be more focused and ask her more direct questions on could she move an arm, could she move the other arm, did she have pain? If she did have pain, could she point towards it? And gradually, as the conversation expanded, yes, it became apparent that she was relatively uninjured. The entire picture shifted from dealing with what initially could have been a highly injured patient to then evolved into perhaps a closed head injury, to then further evolved into, okay, her body appears to be uninjured and now her brain appears to be uninjured. She's alert, she's oriented. Yeah, it was very positive, yeah.
Now, one of you come in with us?
He was screaming in pain.
Just there.
With any child, they can appear okay, but they can go down very rapidly.
Marie, I hate you made me say this, man.
If you have been affected by any of the issues raised in this programme, please visit our support page, tv3.ie/helplines.